The 1920s. The Roaring Twenties. An era of jazz, absolute defiance of the old rules, and a massive explosion of freedom. But away from the dance floors, a completely different kind of revolution was happening on the roads. Before World War I, cars were toys for the ultra-wealthy. But in the 1920s, British engineering found its soul. We saw the birth of the everyday family car, the rise of the legendary Bentley boys at Le Mans, and the creation of machines so beautiful they look like rolling art today. Today, we are counting down the top 10 British cars of the 1920s, the machines that defined an empire, conquered racetrack mud, and changed the automotive landscape forever. Hit that subscribe button, oil your gears, and let's crank the handle. We kick off our list with arguably the most important car in British history, the Austin 7. Before the Austin 7 arrived in 1922, working-class families in Britain rode motorcycles with sidecars. Cars were just too big and too expensive. Enter Herbert Austin, who secretly designed this tiny masterclass of packaging in his own home. It was tiny. It had a microscopic 747 cubic centimeters four-cylinder engine, making just 10 horsepower. But it was cheap, reliable, and critically, it used a conventional control layout, pedals for clutch, brake, and accelerator in the order we use today. It literally standardized how the world drives. It wiped out the motorcycle sidecar market overnight and put the British masses on four wheels. It's the British Model T, and it deserves its spot on this list. While Austin went small, William Morris went mass market. The Morris Cowley, affectionately known as the Bullnose because of that iconic, distinctively rounded brass radiator, was the absolute king of the mid-1920s British roads. What made the Bullnose brilliant wasn't crazy speed. It was American-style mass production brought to Oxfordshire. Morris bought components from all over, including engines designed by Continental in the US, and assembled them with ruthless efficiency. By 1925, Morris was building over 40% of all British cars. The Cowley was sturdy, unpretentious, and unkillable. If you were a doctor, a bank manager, or a prosperous farmer in 1924, this was the exact car parked in your driveway. Before Vauxhall became the brand that made sensible family hatchbacks, they made absolute monsters. Case in point, the Vauxhall 30-98. Often called Britain's first true sports car, the OE Type 30-98 launched in 1922 featured a 4.2-liter overhead valve engine. This thing was an absolute rocket ship for its day, pushing out around 110 horsepower and capable of comfortably topping 85 miles per hour straight out of the showroom. If you stripped the wings and lamps off, it would effortlessly exceed 100 miles per hour at the famous Brooklands Bank circuit. It was the choice of wealthy young adrenaline junkies who wanted to outrun the law and just about everything else on the road. Enter W.O. Bentley. In 1919, he founded a company with a simple mission: build a fast car, a good car, the best in its class. In 1921, the first production Bentley 3-liter was delivered, and it completely redefined endurance racing. Ettore Bugatti famously mocked it, calling it the fastest lorry in the world because of its sheer size and heavy truck-like build. But W.O. Bentley knew that to win races in the 20s, a car had to survive brutal, unpaved roads. The 3-liter featured an incredibly advanced engine for 1,921, 4 valves per cylinder, and overhead camshafts. It was completely indestructible. This is the car that won the 24 Hours of Le Mans in 1924 and again in 1927, birthing the legend of the Bentley boys, the wealthy playboys who raced hard and partied harder. While Bentley relied on brute force and massive durability, Sunbeam went down the route of pure, unadulterated high technology. Introduced in 1925 to directly fight Bentley, the Sunbeam 3-liter Supersports was heavily inspired by Grand Prix racing technology. It featured a twin overhead camshaft, 6-cylinder engine. It was smooth, highly sophisticated, and revved much higher than its rivals. Sunbeam actually managed to finish second at Le Mans in 1925, splitting the Bentleys. It was the connoisseur's choice, a precision instrument built for the driver who valued technical sophistication over raw, hammer-like toughness. In the mid-20s, a brilliant engineer named Percy Riley designed an engine that would influence British car design for decades. the 9 horsepower, 1,087 cubic centimeters twin-cam four-cylinder. They dropped this advanced little motor into a car called the Riley 9. But it was the Monaco saloon version that shook up the industry. Riley used a lightweight fabric-covered body construction. It looked incredibly futuristic, lowered the center of gravity, and made the car remarkably agile. It proved you didn't need a massive chassis or a heavy engine to have a luxurious, fast, and great handling car. The Riley 9 was so dynamically superior that many engineering firms used its chassis as the foundation for successful race cars well into the 1930s. If you talk to vintage car VSCC racers today and ask them what the most usable, reliable pre-war car is, a huge percentage will tell you the exact same thing: the Alvis 1250. Introduced in 1923, the 1250s was a mechanical masterpiece of reliability. It pioneered the use of a highly efficient overhead valve engine in a mass-market sports tourer. Alvis didn't just guess if their cars were tough, they proved it. In 1923, a modified 1250s went out and won the grueling Brooklands Junior Car Club 200-mile race. It built a stellar reputation as an indestructible, beautifully handling sports car that an owner could drive to work on Monday and race like hell on Saturday. You cannot talk about British cars in the 1920s without talking about the undisputed pinnacle of luxury. In 1925, Rolls-Royce faced a massive problem. Their legendary Silver Ghost was finally getting old. They needed a replacement to retain the title of the best car in the world. That replacement was the Phantom I. It featured a gargantuan 7.7-liter pushrod overhead valve straight-six engine. It wasn't built for high RPMs. It was built for endless, silent torque. Remember, back then, Rolls-Royce only sold you the rolling mechanical chassis. You then took it to a master coach builder to have a bespoke body handcrafted out of wood, leather, and aluminum. It was the ultimate statement of wealth. High society, royalty, and international tycoons rode in the back of Phantom S. It cruised at 75 miles per hour in absolute silence, completely isolated from the cobblestone vibrations of the outside world. Our number 2 spot goes to something completely wild, utterly unique, and brutally fast: the chain-drive Frazer-Nash. Archie Frazer-Nash built cars for pure driving purists. These cars didn't have a normal gearbox or a differential. Instead, they used a unique multi-chain drive system to transmit power directly to the rear axle. To change gears, dog clutches engaged different size chains. The result? Instantaneous throttle response and zero power loss through a heavy diff. There was a popular saying in the 20s: chain drive, Frazer-Nash M, dog clutch M, and crash M. Because it had a solid rear axle, the car didn't roll through corners. It drifted sideways with incredible controllability. It was loud, it flung chain grease everywhere, it was physically exhausting to drive, and it was one of the most exciting sports cars ever built. Taking the number 1 spot is the absolute icon of the decade. The car that symbolizes the raw, unhinged power of the late 1920s, the 4.5-liter blower Bentley. By 1929, the naturally aspirated 4.5-liter Bentley was facing stiff competition. W.O. Bentley wanted to build a bigger engine, but racing driver Sir Henry "Tim" Birkin had a crazier idea. He wanted to bolt a massive supercharger straight onto the front of the crankshaft. W.O. hated it, arguing that supercharging perverted his engine design. But Birkin got it funded anyway. With the blower howling, this absolute beast pushed out a staggering 242 horsepower in race trim. It was wildly unreliable and actually never won Le Mans due to mechanical failures, but it didn't matter. Watching Tim Birkin hurl this massive, roaring machine down the Mulsanne Straight at 130 miles per hour, overtaking the finest cars in the world while spitting smoke, cemented it as the ultimate British car of the Roaring '20s. It is pure automotive drama on wheels. The 1920s was a magical window of time where engineers were learning by doing, creating some of the most visceral, mechanically pure machines to ever touch tarmac. From the tiny Austin 7 that put a nation on wheels to the howling blower Bentley, these cars laid the foundation for the next century of driving. Which one of these vintage legends would you want in your dream garage? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with a fellow petrolhead. Until next time, keep the shiny side up.